Welcome, beautiful souls. My guest today has hosted over 60 foster children, built her dream home, and then sold everything to leap into the unknown. This is Courage in Midlife and a story that you need to hear. So join me in welcoming Joanne Dipple. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. And for those that haven't yet met me, I am Sally Arkell-Bowles. I'm the founder of Sovereign Soul Mastery and your host of Limitless in Midlife. After decades in the corporate leadership world, I now guide women to rise with soul, strategy, and sovereignty. Because midlife isn't the end, it's your power portal. So, Joanne, let's dive in. And the first thing I really want to be able to ask you today is, can you take us back to the moment before the shift happened? And what did life look like for you and your husband, Brian, before this opportunity came along?
Wow, that was a while ago, but my husband had his own business for 30 years. So it was a business. As you know, that's not a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job. How we were always very busy. We had our own two children and foster children, usually 4 to 6 kids in the house at a time. And so very busy life.
I bet.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you were able to manage that because that is, bringing in foster children, number one, can be a bit of a challenge. These children are obviously displaced from their family. So how did you handle that piece of that journey for them?
I I'm an organizer. That's just my nature. I like to be busy and I do things quick and I like change and organizing things and keeping on track and keeping organized and stability for the kids.
Um,
It's sort of who I am. So it just came naturally and you just go with the flow. Lots of change.
I bet there's lots of change. And how long would you had most of your children?
Anywhere from a few nights to 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, I want to honor you and Brian for taking that on because there's so many children that are still looking for a home like that for their transition. No, there probably was a lot of stress. There was also probably a lot of emotional, um, emotional children in the house having to adjust to all of this. So, I always honor people like yourself that give their lives to serving others in a way that's so impactful. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So now, as your journey moved on, when I last talked to you, you had just finished building your dream home. So, what did that space represent for you at the time?
Something that we lived in a small house, small 3 bedroom house with all our kids and for 15 years. And that's where we raised them. And that's where the biggest part of our life was.
Mhm.
We always envisioned a bigger home and newer home. I mean, that's sort of in our, 40s and 50s. We all kind of thrive to reach what
Yeah.
others have and something bigger and better. And, we always looked forward to that. So that was kind of the goal. And it felt great to reach that goal.
Mhm. Okay, so now as you were moving forward, so you were envisioning your traditional retirement, I'll say, or you were already feeling a stir for something new, like you had built this beautiful new house, you had achieved your goals. So what was the transition as you were getting closer to the retirement age that sort of gave you that opportunity to sort of say, what else is there?
Well, I had kind of slowed down with the Children's Aid Society, and Brian's work um, took a big turn. He
Mm.
very very busy, and then 2008 hit, and all things changed in the business world, and business totally dissolved. So financially, it was a real struggle for a little while. So we were already trying to figure out what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? How are we going to make this work?
Mhm.
So we were kind of uneasy about the way things were at the time.
Okay. And so I can't imagine 2008 when all of a sudden your main incomes are both jeopardized by what was going on worldwide, or at least in Canada at that time. So, what fears or doubts came up for you and what helped you move through them?
Um, the biggest fear was losing our home because it was our dream home. That's where we
Mm.
imagined um, having the rest of our lives. And when you sort of reach your goal, and you have your nice furniture and your shiny cars and your new house, we've landscaped it the way you like. It's really hard to even envision giving that up.
Mhm.
But we all need to make changes in life, and it was time for a change.
So now what did you pivot from for there? So, you had this house, life was changing again, where you had moved from having your full-time house for so long. Now you built your dream home, and then all of a sudden the markets change and jobs change and incomes change. So, what surprised you most, or what was that transition like moving from where you were to having to look for another opportunity?
It was tough, I have to say. You feel really bad about yourself. My husband was feeling bad that he couldn't get that business back on track. I was feeling bad that, we were losing things. We would have to give up our dream. It was hard not to be for lack of a better word, into a depression, really,
Okay.
where things were.
Uh-huh. And so when you got to that stage and now you're starting to look for something different in your life, what was the feeling and what was the process like to go through that, to have to start basically from scratch and start looking for something new for both of you?
Yeah, we were both working part-time jobs, just trying to make things work for us. We had given up our home. We were in another home, but even that was a struggle. So, you're just ticking along, making life work for a while, but it wasn't a happy time.
Yeah.
Just always kind of, I guess, looking for something else, but not knowing which direction to go. So
I
it
love
took
it.
a while to figure it out.
Yeah, I love that because I think a lot of us figure we have to have all the steps figured out before we take that next step. And sometimes opportunities show up for us.
Yeah.
And, I think it's letting go of that stress of, oh my gosh, what's that next step that can lead us to something that could be pretty incredible. So, what was it that changed your life from that point forward?
Well, I was watching Brian with his job, and as we all know, technology changes. Um, we're in our 60s and 70s, so technology jobs have changed hugely in our life. And so I watched him struggle with the new technology. He never wanted to give it up. He loved his work
Mhm.
and didn't even see himself retiring. He just really enjoyed his work, but it was really becoming more and more difficult. And I watched that and, didn't know how to help bail him out, so to speak. And, I was just always looking on Indeed, always looking for new things, didn't really know what I was looking for.
Mhm.
And, this opportunity where we are now popped up, and I read it to him and says, "What do you think of this?" And he kind of rolled his eyes and went, "Yeah, right."
I don't know.
And couldn't even imagine, giving up what he dreamed,
Mhm.
fear was. And living with someone else, and that's the way it sort of looked at the time.
Mhm.
So, it took a little while to, convince even the thought of moving forward.
Mhm. So, do you mind sharing what it was, what this new opportunity was?
Well, we are in a different city than where we were. We're in London, and it's an estate where we live, a very large estate, and it was presented as a caretaker role, and housekeeper, sort of that kind of property management, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it was a live-in position. So, kind of how it was presented. We didn't know a lot more than that at the time, and that's how we started.
Wow. So how did it feel taking that leap of faith, not really knowing exactly how it was gonna pan out?
Well, it's like any job interview. You never really know what you're stepping into until you're in it, because it's not always presented exactly the way it is. But honestly, it's better than we could have imagined.
Awesome. That's exciting. I want women that are listening or men that are listening right now to understand that just because we think we're up against the wall and we can't move forward in the way that we want to, sometimes opportunities show up for us that are ease, that are giving us the opportunity to live in a different way than we've always lived, but still be able to bring our skill sets forward, skill sets that we probably didn't think we wanted to be in that type of a role as caretakers and caregivers, but it definitely is something that just gives you that opportunity to say, I wonder what this will be like. Should we take a chance? And so I honor you, both you and Ryan, for taking that chance because it's difficult, especially later in life, to make a pivot that's completely outside of where you've been.
It certainly is. I mean, we gave up owning our own home and living in someone else's home.
Mhm.
Said that we have our own space, totally our own space,
Mhm.
we work. We have total trust with our employer, so we work when we want. We have our own hours, and he trusts us to do what we are needed to do, and that's how we live our life. And so it's worked out so perfectly for us. Yeah, it's a big leap of faith, but what have you got to lose? You can always.
Well, look at the smile. Look at the smile and that. What have we got to lose? Because most people think we got something to lose.
Yeah.
But new adventures show up for us, new opportunities show up for us when we're ready to accept that. And it's oftentimes that beauty of the unexpected that creates inside of us the opportunity to even relax and grow and just be in the moment instead of always pushing and shoving and trying to get to where we think we need to be when a beautiful opportunity with someone that fully trusts you comes to you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling to try something new, and you can always step back.
Really?
The word is up to us.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of us do feel that we have to step back, or maybe we're stepping down as some of us downsize or choose to move away from, a more expensive city to a lesser expensive city in retirement. They almost think of it as a, not so fun type of experience. But when you shift your mindset to just thinking, can I explore? Who can I meet? What are the things that I get to do differently? And what's the lifestyle I get to choose to be able to live? And to me, that's one of the biggest things for women in midlife and men in midlife, really. But why do we feel we have to be in that box that we've been in before when there's still opportunities for us? And do you mind me asking what age that you were when this all transpired?
62.
There you go. Right. There you go. Completely changing the direction of your life at 62.
Yeah, and I think most of us in our world thrive to have our home, our comfortable home, our nice furnishings, our nice things, and then retire. The more I grew, the more I realized that's just stuff. That's just
Mm-hmm.
not what makes us happy. And, there's nothing wrong with all those things, and there's nothing wrong with stability. But if it doesn't work out, we can still be really happy and we can still be content.
Yeah. And I think when you're in that mindset that there's another opportunity for you or something else that's still waiting for you, then it will show up for you. It will show up always better than you thought it would ever be.
Isn't that true? I,
Absolutely. I've always found that, Kevin and I have made a lot of moves all over the country for jobs and different opportunities. But it's never been something that I felt that I needed to go back to. it's always been offering me a different opportunity and a different perspective on where I'm living, the community, enjoying the nature, exploring, that has made it so much more rich in my life to actually have those things happening. And that's just one thing that we've encountered having moved. And obviously, we just moved this 3 months ago, right across the country to the east coast of Canada. And, I'm loving it here. I have the view of the ocean right beside my house. It's like, how could I want more? Right? And winter right now, but I can't imagine what the summer's going to be like. So it's those new opportunities that open up for us and give us an even more rich life in ways that is not necessarily just monetary, but just emotionally and physically.
And it's not expected. Everything doesn't have to be planned, and if
Mm.
it's all through, it's okay. Like something else, like will come up.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned. It took a long time to learn that, and it took a long time not to be disappointed with.
Mhm.
It felt like failures, but
Mm.
they aren't failures because we are good. We are we're fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a piece of that too comes in from the judgment of others around us.
Yes.
Why you just built your beautiful new home, Joanne? Why would you ever want to leave it?
Yeah.
Right? Circumstances come up, but people judge, right? And so actually being able to close that door and say, no, what matters is what's going on for Brian and I, nobody else, and what we choose. And so those are the types of things that I think a lot of us sit with where other people are judging us because they couldn't ever do the things that we did. That's
True.
and so
You live it. Yes.
yeah, you live your life. And I don't regret anything that I've done moving all over the country and in exploring different areas, um, and traveling the world. And so it also has allowed both you and Brian to really, I think, forge a different relationship with each other and probably a much stronger one, even more so now in the role that you're working together. Would you tell me a little bit about how your relationship has evolved through this shared venture?
I think we have a very different relationship than a lot of married couples, as do you and Kevin, as we spend so much time together. And we're just so happy with life with each other. And we can sit in our chair in the evening and just watch TV and just say, this is great. We good. And just we're happy that, our family is good, our kids are good, our grandkids are good. What more do we need? We don't need, no, we get to travel. That's what we do enjoy doing. So we're very content with each other and enjoy spending time with each other.
Yeah. And I think also, I've been to your place, so I know it's a beautiful place for you to be living, right? Close to nature, but also in a beautiful, luxurious location. And so it's I always love hearing these stories because I want other women to understand that one door closes and another one always opens. It's more incredible. And
Yeah.
as we age, we get more and more fearful of that change. But we all know what fear is, so it's not real. It's just made up in our mind. So, has this journey changed your definition of success or fulfillment?
For sure. For sure. I mean, in our younger years, it was all about the stuff,
Mhm.
and keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with
Yeah.
your friends, and how other people perceive you. I was a caregiver at home. I was very busy, but I often talked to people in the corporate world and women and felt inadequate, felt inferior. And I really did. And now I know that I have value and I know that I have lots to give. And I'm content with the choices that I made with my life. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I can understand that because having been in the corporate world for so many years, it was just so easy when you and I sat down to have this pre-conversation.
Yeah.
Because we understand each other and where we are in life. And so for anybody that's listening that might be in their 40s or 50s and thinking that chasing all of those things and, having more of and being like the Joneses, so to speak, is not necessarily where your heart and soul really is choosing to be. It's what we've been told to do. And it's been, what we want to do to keep up that pace with everybody else. And so I want you to understand that that is just a falsehood. If it makes you feel great, beautiful, I love it, if that's where you want to be. But at the same time, there's so much more richness, calmness, like a sense of so much calmness from you. And that soul of understanding who you truly are in your relationship is thriving because of it.
Yeah.
And that to me is where the gold is in life, right? You still get to go to travel to Australia to see your daughter. You've got your other children close by. You know that you still have those connections with your friends and your family, but yet your personal relationship with your spouse is so much stronger because of the opportunity that you've both embraced.
For sure. Yeah.
And
And
that, what,
self-worth too.
oh, yes.
Feel good about yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so important because I think there's so many people, and then what I've experienced because I left my corporate career about 5 years ago, and I know that I went through times where it's like, oh, well, what am I going to do now, and how am I going to show up, and feeling lesser than because I wasn't in the corporate world, so to speak, anymore, and I wasn't where I was wanting to be anymore. But yet there was that time that I was sort of in that in between stage where it's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And sort of trying to find it until the opportunity showed up for me about a year after I had left my corporate career. And so, in your opinion, what do you want women listening to this podcast to know about the possibilities that still exist, even after retirement, after 50, 60, or even 70?
Um, well, I've certainly found that even just with hobbies, for example, whether it's gardening, whether it's a book club, whether it's quilting, anything, whatever you choose, find some joy in that and find a community around that. And you'll thrive. You'll find new friends, you'll find a new life. I mean, whether it's, I used to say, if I didn't have to work, I'd volunteer. Then I can come and go as I please, but I can still give and feel fulfilled. And there's always some kind of connection you can find that will make you feel good about yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And I think oftentimes as we age as well, we tend to lose part of our community because we might not be able to see so well when we're driving at night.
Yeah.
And somebody else to pick you up, right? Or we think, oh, well, I don't have anything to say anymore. I'm not, not in my career anymore. What am I going to say? I'm just at home now. Like we start to judge ourselves and think that we still can't be involved. So I want you to really take Joanne's advice here and start to get engaged with some other women. Maybe go out for just lunch one day with 3 or 4 friends and start building from there because it's that community that's going to serve you as you go forward. And there are a lot of women our age that are single again for different reasons. And so don't isolate yourself. Please don't isolate yourself because this is where we get to really be in our true, authentic selves at this stage of life, where we don't have to put on that facade. We don't have to pretend we're somebody that we're not to hold up our worth, like you were saying earlier, but rather to just really own who we are today and just be in that joy, that peace, and that love. So, my last question for you is what would you say is the best part of this chapter in your life?
Um, Peace and freedom.
Mhm.
The freedom to take on new roles, new things. I have lots of new hobbies that I found I enjoy. And I, again, new communities within those hobbies and just calmness. It likes to just be calm and that doesn't mean I sit around and do nothing. I'm still very busy.
Uh-huh.
And do it at my own pace.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I think a lot of women can resonate with that. And it's just being who you are in the moment and not having to be rushed, not having to be pushing to be this and that, but just enjoying your life at this stage of life, which is awesome. I really want to thank you for joining us today. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I hope that some women will get and understand what the opportunities are that still exist for us because I know this opportunity came out of the blue for you. And Look at the joy on her face from having found this opportunity that is perfect not only for her, but also for her spouse and the rest of her family. So thank you so much today, Joanne, for joining me on Limitless and Midlife. And please make sure you like, subscribe, and make some comments down below about what Joanne was actually sharing with us as you resonated or you have other questions that you might want answered. And until next week, I'm Sally Arkell Bowles. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Sally.